Japers, why don't we stop there? Complete and utter stop! Stop it, I tell you. Press pause and thank you very much. Oof, sorry about that. I thought I had it silky smooth, but I made a complete mess of it. Trying to get a bit of the old intros going there. Do we have, let me turn that off there. Great to see you there. Sorry about that, guys. Let me know. Can I get a 5x5? Good to see Flood Kutch and all the early adopters jumping in straight off the bat. Thank you for joining me. Let me see if I can. Is it coming up on the screen here? I think it is. How's your week been, friends? Hope you're keeping well. I'll work on a few bits and pieces in the background here as we try to get through. There we go. I can see it starting to scroll up there. Good evenings, 5x5 from the Gombian Hunter. I was aware, even though I tried my very best, last week, that the my sound was down, but the broadcasts are coming through, which is always a bonus. Evening GT and to all the Hardy Bays from Wayne Burke. Great to see you, Wayne. Thanks for jumping in. Wayne gives us a 5x5. Binky in the house. Good to see you back, Binky. Hope you're keeping well from Nova Scotia over there in Canada. Fucking Canada. Let me just give you some anecdotal off the top of my head. I think assisted suicide in Canada is the third biggest cause of death. The third biggest cause of death. We've also got the implementation of that starting to come here. And I remind you here, I did have it in the week, but there is a opt-out page on the government website to opt out of organ harvesting. And we also have that dreadful story of the young Spanish girl during the week there as well. I'm sure many of you came across it as well. Absolutely horrifying. The state sanctioning murder of a citizen. And God bless that poor child who was taken into a care situation. I mean, the similarities are striking. Oh, well, I should say, considering what's going on in our own children's healthcare throughout Europe, but here and keep it in our own Irish situation, considering the grooming gangs are kicking off over here as well, unfettered. This poor child was put into a care home where she was greeted by three of the new to the parish in the area, and a horrendous crime was perpetrated upon her. I'll leave the rest to your imagination. Still early in the evening. But she was visited by the three good doctors, 4 doctors maybe, I don't know the exact figures, but it left an indelible mark on her so much so that she put herself up for suicide. Now, I don't put that in Canada, but this happened in Spain. I am aware. But like I said to you, that architecture is being placed here as well for a made situation in Ireland. And we've got plenty of useful idiots out there who equate their own personal situations to be the voice of the whole of the nation and the whole of the people. That will steer me on to some of the PPN, the People's Parliamentary Representation stuff that's come out on Twitter. And I think it's useful for us to be aware of it. If you want to use, or if you want to, use some pushback or give some pushback. And I have one or two little projects for you that might assist that our good friend Fianna Fact brought up during the week there as well. I just thought I'd bring it to your attention. 100k so far, 100,000 Blinky telling us there on chat. Absolutely horrendous stuff. Let me see now. Now the system is struggling a little bit. I think it's warming up a bit, but have no fear. I have made some investments, and hopefully the streams will get a little bit more tighter, and maybe we'll be able to add on a few things to the stream now. But I'll leave it at that for now. Just bear with in the meantime as we try and put this magical roundabout all together. Just another form of eugenics, always presented as a benefit, which it never is, 100%. But that poor child opted to have assisted suicide. And then there's the scenes of her changing her mind. But the doctors, the nurses, everybody on board saying, I'm sorry, you can't, because your organs are promised to somebody else. Your organs are going to give somebody else the gift of life. None of her friends, none of her family were allowed to see her in the meantime. And it went ahead, dreadfully it went ahead. We're all aware. I'm just going to remind you, hence why I bring up the organ harvesting over here to opt out of that register. No organs can be collected unless the host is still alive. You can't transmit dead organs. You can't take organs after the deceased because the blood flow has stopped, because the organ has in essence died as well. very infrequently. So your organs are extracted while you're still alive. Actual 100%. Grok me on that if you like. So I mean, this disaster, this incoming agenda, this role play that's all coming out. I mean, if you were to look back into the Agenda 2030, and we're going to have some similarities to the SDG through some of the posts I have here for you as well. And you can see how the nebulous language that they've been used, stuff we've been pointing out for years. You go through any of the previous 8 years. I was looking back. I was looking through the previous streams there, and I was trying to get one of the intros just for tonight. And I forgot to mute the other channel that I had up on the live channel here. That's why you were getting the double echo at the start. Great! Everybody's just going to switch off straight from the start again. Thanks, Dylan, 5x5. Hope I'm coming through loud and clear this time. I'm getting some good feedback. But yeah, like it's just a horror show. I do have a montage from some of the farmers. I've seen some of the meetings from the IFA. The one I have here for him is through off-grid, pushing it forward. And I'll share that with you there now. But some of the video montages of what I seen there, dear God, there's some absolute legends. Some of the very vociferous, shall I say, very, very outspoken, solid men. I mean, I was solid actual men and leaders, and they are apoplectic. Considering, let me just get rid of that. Apologies, I'm probably hearing that in the mic as well. Just to clear the chest. But the verbiage that was coming out of the meetings was in relation to the Mercosur deal and stuff like that. I mean, the system is already tainted when you think of it. We've already discovered meat from the Mercosur deals, or imported meat in the supply chain, in the food chain over here. And making some notes on that as well, that I wanted to remind myself of you, like the beef barons in Brazil, this meat that's coming in. And if you've seen any of the video montage, like it's huge swaths of old forest lands that's being cut down to make way for this. What we can see now is probably becoming the new breadbasket, or the place where they'll import or harvest, not sorry, say harvest, mass farm for the smaller population as it increases, because the population is decreasing, even with the mass deaths, excess deaths and all kicking in as well. And I'm hearing more and more, you might be hearing it as well, that the 2 billion of China's population and the 2 billion, well, in the Indian situation, I can very well believe it. But the actual population of China is another thing to be considered, and some estimates ranging it down to 500,000 people, or at least under 1 billion, not the 2 billion that we're all led to believe. When you consider the one-child family policy that they had for years, that would have, over the years, the decades, decrease in the population. So there's some similarities and stuff like that. I'm sure it's just another thing out in the zeitgeist. I also want to talk on some of the after effects. Again, it's not conspiratorial. These people are registered doctors. You can't take it for word of mouth, but the strongest indicators of the after effects of the shots are now playing more and more into place. And everything that I was bringing to your attention from other sources that were being outlawed at the time, that AIDS is coming up on the radar now. Vaccine-induced autoimmune deficiency syndrome, AIDS, but being given to there. So I think the more catastrophic and immediate effects of some of the behavioural feuds are from those that had 3, 4 and above are getting that. But the AIDS situation is because it's known now, and I think I'm not too far off the mark. It's because the repeating of the spike protein, it's having that sponge effect in the blood system, and it's deteriorating the natural born immune system, and the immune system is being depressed, hence the AIDS, but vaccine-induced AIDS kicking in. So it primarily affected in the peer reviews that are coming out now in the younger populations from the start. We're talking preteen and we're talking young adults. Primarily, we've seen all the sudden death syndromes from sports stars and stuff like that, and the possibly innumerate amount of statistics that are played that we are completely unaware of, that are being hidden, along with all the other mass deaths that are going on around the world. Quick hello to chat there as well. To Kate Daly, great lady jumps in. All the blue banners are in now. The wrenches are here. Hugo is also in the count. I want one of the best. I need a maid. Oh my God, Hugo! If you are, and I'm just keeping an eye on him here. If you are a plant that's going to come up and you're going to be banned, you're going to be perma-banned. Where is Sheepdog? Sheepdog will make an announcement here as well, and we'll hear him pumping out 20 press-ups, 20 sit-ups. Right, let's get the business. Let's get about it. Let me give you the video montage from the meeting, and I can't remember this chap's name. hence this title came up from my fucking this very basic AI generated thumbnail that I have there for you. It's good for you, unbelievable. But Kirk Logo putting this out on Twitter earlier on. This is a serious. The government has one chance. We are putting a gun to the head of government. Dublin Airport, Dublin Port, and 50 all closed indefinitely. Sorry to drop this on you on a Monday morning, but this needs to be shared. This is James Gogan, who we're going to present to you now in this video. Let me just turn on the camera. Yep, over there. This is from James Gogan, who was at an emergency meeting called on Saturday night in Port regarding to the fuel and energy crisis. Now, I will preface this, given that the nationalist movement, when the nationalists was drawing attention to the ever-increasing immigration problem, but also, if you follow this channel and many other channels as well, they were talking about the Agenda 2030 and the DIGs, the SDGs that were going to be coming in place and become more apparent. Here now we can see the narrative and the after effects of the highly scripted global war that is escalating. Latest reports now, because of what the Europeans did to Russia in the confiscation of the Russian assets, it seems the UAE has now confiscated the Iranian assets, some 550 billion, and is currently kicking and revoking visas and passports to all Iranian citizens over there as well. So it's escalating, it's getting out of hand. With the farmers now talking about the rise in green diesel and the inaffordability, it's only going to get worse. Murmurations from the government now talking about fuel rationing and having to do that. We've been completely aware for it. The dog in the street can see for it. Like, we've got people coming up on Twitter going, what's going on with the fuel pump prices? You know, obviously what's happened, like Nord Stream has an effect. You've got the cheap energy system that's just been cut off. We can see Germany deindustrializing. We see the whole of Europe deindustrializing and just becoming a consumer economy, if that is at all possible, because there will be no goods to buy when energy is crippled. I'm preaching to the choir. You all understand. Appreciate that, Blinky. Hit the like button, or GT might cry. I will not cry. Give over, Binky. No crying done here. Have a listen to James anyway. I'll bring this up for you. Have a listen to James and just having to listen to the conversation that was had in Portlaoise.
Eating of such desperation among men and women in the haulage agri sector, it opened my eyes to how badly run this country is and how badly run our government have screwed us and have destroyed business in this country. It has to change, and there was men there last night, busmen getting an awful doing, builders, small hauliers. It was frightening to be. I'm not joking. I was never at such a more frightening type of meeting. There was men there and women there in a bad way. With the rising costs, they just can't keep their business going, and it's as simple as that. There was there's talk of the building boom is over. Houses can't be finished. People with mortgages for, say, for example, 350,000, and the house went up 30 grand the last fortnight. Now they can't pay the house. Houses half built, houses not finished. We were talking to plant men who have new houses to start and they've been cancelled this week. New builds just right off, finished. So, Hawks, it was the outshot of the meeting was anyway. Independent Ireland were very strong there. That Michael Fitzmaurice.
Yeah, I'm just becoming aware now. I'm going to let it play through. It's 9 minutes in totality, so I might jump in between, or I might not play it all the way through. You let me know on chat if you're happy to go through to go forward. But just to interject at this point as well, now I believe, I don't know if James is going to touch on it. I haven't had a chance to review it in its entirety. But if it is true and it's going to be started to try and choke the motorway, try and choke business to highlight their situation, it's only going to exasperate the situation. Pretty much like the government reducing the tax burden by 20 cents on the fuel. What that did as a primary byproduct, it gave them a week's grace to keep it off the news headlines, but it only increased hoarding. People coming down to the job to drop down to the lower price of 208, down from 228. From the reduction of the 20 cent tax taken. And again, that's going to have deleterious, that spending, that 20 cent spending that it was accrued for and given back to the motorist is going to be taken away from some other government agency again, because the government doesn't create money, it only spends money. Now it has less money to spend elsewhere. More likely, more disabled products, more social services going to be affected, but none of the precious international protection schemes will be affected. And we'll touch in on that. I'm gonna play on through. Let's carry on listening through to what James says.
Pierre Maloney, and all the councillors, Michael Collins of Cork, all men who were at the coalface and know the issues, and not one Fianna Gael, Fianna Fáil, MEP, TD, Senator, nothing turned up. It was unbelievable that none of them turned up, but anyway, sure, that's who they are. Shower wasters, that's all they are. So, but they are in government. There's a big shock coming. The industry is in turmoil, and the results of last night's meeting was that there was about 400 people at the meeting, and a committee was formed to have 3 or 4 or 5 from each different sector, the agri-contracting sector, farming sector, plant and bus hire, the haulage sector. So everyone is involved, and everyone is going to be completely equal, and they're putting in a proposal to the government this week on what needs to be done. The small print's not done that yet, but like, for example, carbon tax just simply has to go off diesel. I'm not paying for anyone else's insulating their houses. I don't give a shite what the government say. We're not paying it anymore.
Now, I'm fairly sure that James and the rest of the farmers, as businessmen, are equally aware that these are only temporary. These will be only temporary reprieves. Should you get that conversation, I mean, because government has to take it from somewhere else. There is no pool for it to feed into. You know, this mantra that's drilled into people's heads, you know, oh, the government gives it, oh, this is from the government. Sure, the government are giving to me this. Never the equation that the government is just spending your money through the exchequer, or borrowing on markets and stuff into the exchequer. But with this particular crisis is that the global fuel reserve, the global source of energy, and in particular with the farmers, and for our situation, is the fertiliser, the production of fertiliser through these heavy oils and different gradients of oils that come through the Gulf. Now you might just think it's just oil is just pumped out, but it goes through different stages, different purifications. Again, I'm newly averse to it. I'm just coming up abreast to pass it on to you as well. It's not I've been sitting here like a fucking an oil digger all my life, but from my recent understanding is that they're particularly the oils that come through the Hormuz Straits and through Iran and stuff like that are what classed as heavy oils, and again they get refined down into different sort of productions, either going to pharmaceutical or to the farmers in the stages of fertilization, in the creative fertilization. But the global stock shock, the lack of transportation, we're not feeling them full effects. Like I said to you, I keep mentioning the oil tanker or the fuel tanker at sea when it has to change course, even in an emergency situation. It takes half an hour for an oil tanker to fully turn and change its course. And what we're feeling is the byeffects of the already left imports that we've already procured on the markets. And I think it will also get to a stage that as these boats are in transit, bidders will come in and offer higher money for the purchases of these containers, and they will be diverted to other destinations, those that are due here. I think it's going to be that critical. Now, like I said, it's all going to affect us materially in some way, shape or form. Nobody's going to be left unscathed, and they can juggle and they can mask and they can pull a piece from over here and try and plug up the gap over there, but inevitably the tsunami is going to hit and the choke points are going to be filled. When we consider the new structures, the data centers alone that have been enticed and coerced, not even just enticed to come in here because of low corporation and because of access to the residential domestic electrical grid, they're not having in place. I don't know if any of the newer models will have in place, but they were probably granted permission to have their own energy systems or their own energy factories, and they will keep them just for themselves. That is the backbone for the new technocracy, is the AI implementation. And we are here like scalded, drowned rats from weather manipulation. Whether you choose to agree with me or not, Saudi Arabia is doing that at the moment, and they're fearing the benefits of the moment with an unprecedented flood, another one that's just happening because that's a weather weapon for them over there. But we're also getting that weather weapon being used on us here with these excessive amounts of rain to keep feeding the data centers to try and keep them cool and stuff like that. So we're not going to have the great emergency shock because we're coming into a summertime. People's demand on fuel will be less, but coming next winter, it's going to be drastic. It's going to be those with electrical fuel pumps with no chimneys in the new bills. You can thank the Green Party for all of that because you'll have no immediate heat source when we go to rolling blackouts, when we go to, as they're talking about, fuel rationing and stuff like that. I'll break away from James for a second, just to bring up here some of the statements here from government over here, from not government, from the mid-level managers over here. Let me think. It was where are you, friend? You're actually there. And I am just going to pop up some of the newspaper titles that Off Grid had for us there as well. I popped them up on the screen. Households now urged, Micheál Martin's government is looking for ways to manage the oil supply crisis. Households urged to cut fuel use as Ireland braces for oil crisis. Ministers are weighing energy saving measures and windfall taxes as fears grow over the effect of distribution to fuel supplies. Regardless of windfall tax, you've nowhere to spend it on. What are you going to spend it on, even if you could spend it? Because the product simply isn't there. These are all to pacify the population, because I think they're caught with their shorts now. We have no strategic oil reserve that I'm aware of to maintain and manage the economy for at least a year. That investment, that capital investment hasn't been made. We've got these, as I've always said to you, on-time deliveries. Just as we're about to run out, a new shipment comes in. Well, this time, when we're just about to run out, and should those ships make it to us into the Eurozone without being misdirected or redirected, that we'll crawl our way through the rest of the year. But again, 2027, here we go, Hunger Games. Another piece of that same piece was the meeting was told, and the main concern is the fuel supply of diesel and jet fuel, and senior civil servants were warned by the fuel industry that the overall medium-term outlook is serious and could worsen quickly. Two government figures told the Sunday Times, the Sunday Slimes, paper of ill repute. Although Ireland is not yet in territory of fuel rationing, yet being the key word, it is an inevitability. A contingency plan will be stress tested in the coming weeks. Under this plan, workers in frontline roles would be given. Does that all sound familiar? The pandemic, the little IQ test with the pre-preparation plan and role of curtailing your movement. Now it's not going to be a pandemic, it's going to be a global or a climate lockdown or a fuel rationing lockdown. They've just changed the language to what they actually still want to do, which is to control and suppress your freedom of movement. Under the plan, the workers in 40 front lines will be given forced access to fuel if levels become critically low. It's not if, it's when. They are doing a satanic karmic retribution. They are telling you to your face, not if and when, it's when. But they will use it because they know they're not lying and they know it's not come, so they need to placate the plebs. If fuels levels become critically low, members of the Defence Forces or Gardaí would be situated at garage forefronts to check the worker's ID, a source said. I think there's another link to it as well. Another headline title just to merge into that as well. So the impact we are seeing today is going to be substantially larger than back in the 70s. I think a lot of people are underestimating what the impact is. We talk a lot about oil. What has me a lot more concerned is fertilizer. You've got 20 to 30% of seaborne fertilizer in the world originating from the Gulf. This will mean rapidly escalating food prices, especially in poorer countries, which typically tends to destabilize such countries. So it's in the post, folks, as it always has been, and it is in the post. Do with that information as you would there. Graham, sorry to shout there, chat back. GRLF, maybe there's a spanner coming your way. I know you're there. You're there on the thing. I haven't got you. You're still under observation. Just a little breakaway there as well. So just want to highlight that. We'll jump back in to finish with James' conversation because it's particularly pertinent in our own situation over here in the Republic. But throughout all of Europe, because we have no immediate access to natural resources. Our gas, we've got a Corrib gas line being pumped out to Denmark. Should it get to a critical stage, and should we not do, or what a government do? Well, I guarantee you that a nationalist government would do it, would stop the flow of gas to Denmark. I'm sorry about you, but it's right here in our doorstep. Let's get at it. I would then send the Navy out to the sea, to the ships, and start patrolling our waters and get the fucking fleet back out there, start getting fish brought back into the shore, lickety spit pronto. Just a couple of suggestions what a nationalist government would do. But these fuckers are going to let it get to the state where starvation will be back in the cards, where queues for food will be coming in line and play, the communist utopia. And again, I hope I am completely wrong. I hope I am being overly over the top with my language, but all signs aren't pointing in that direction, you know. So we'll jump back in with James here, just to following through with what he was happening at that meeting as well, and again just to belay the point, no matter the inevitability. And I think even though it is erstwhile what they are proposing to do, what they suggest, what I think they're going to propose to do is to do these strikes and do these this breakdown. This will induce chaos. This is exactly what they're being training for. With when people start becoming, when queues at garages and forecourts become out of control because people have been waiting in hours for in line, and people will be skipping queues. It's all I can see it in South Asia. I can see it in other fields. Violence is already erupting on the street. Thousands of mopeds trying to get fuel. So, like I said, make your preparations and understand that. Let's finish off here with James a wee bit.
We are going to put the gun to the government's head, and there is going to be major protests. That's the bottom line. Now, the government are going to get one chance to sort out this. Like, for example, we'll go to Malta. The Malta government have reduced fuel prices to $1.40 a litre maximum. And if diesel goes over that, the government are taking up the slack on it. We could work. The white diesel could work here at $1.40, and green diesel has to work here under €1 a litre. And like, we're a guy we're using the green diesel. But you take the amount of diggers that are on green diesel, and they're in at bad rates on building sites and that. They're finished. There's diggers being parked up this week. We just can't afford the diesel in the machines. It's as simple as that. So the government are going to get a chance. It's going to be put fairly square to them by Tuesday, Wednesday of this week. They're going to be given a few days. They can recall the government if they want. But if they ignore this, and I say it here, if the government ignore this, Dublin Airport, Dublin Port are in serious threat of closure. And if you're from the government, if you're a TD, a senator, a councillor, whoever you are, if you're seeing this video, mark my word, the anger in that room last night was men in that room last night with 100 to 200 employees driving trucks. They are ready to park up their trucks in the middle of roads, wherever they're told to go.
Now, I don't want to be facetious. I don't want to be over the top. We call this. I say we. Those of us with common sense, those of you in the audience, those of you that have been out on the streets, that have you been protesting for this kind of action to slow down the excess demand on the housing situation. That was all good when fuel was available, but we always understood that this was coming because in its primacy, the whole structure is unsustainable. There isn't enough house builds. Now that the energy is gone, those house builds, those construction sites are going to shut down. As that situation becomes more and more exasperated by the decrease in fuel, all the other benefits are going to start paying out. Who's going to start paying social welfare? If they start divvying out energy to primary resources like frontline soldiers, who is frontline? Obviously the guards. Ministers, I guarantee you, will not be affected by this in any way, shape or form. Local councillors will be given primacy and stuff like that. But your feckless, useless dogs of NGOs, nowhere to be seen on the list. But ministers, none of these people will be affected by this. They will be cosseted for at least 2 or 3 years if we do make it to the next election stage. You got your spanner there, gone, Ben. Good to see you, Siobhan. Thanks for jumping back in. People have the power, but they don't know. Yeah, I mean, there are avenues. There will be avenues, but above it all, no matter what the avenues are, the pain that is due, that is coming, is inevitable, is on the way. How long it lasts for is another thing. That's all dependent primarily on outside forces. Well, we said our situation is going to be managed by outside forces. It can't really be held here because we are so captured. We have been so captured, not along with all the institutions, but as a populace, we have been captured by the gaslighting and fed along with it because it didn't affect us personally too much. May have affected people on a macro level in a nation, but the individual doesn't really feel it. I guarantee you the individual, myself included, I'm not walking away. I am open and to this effect as much as the rest of us. How long these streams can keep going for, but do our level best to try and keep it going. But I say, buy a couple of good books, get some good magazines, buy a Bible first and foremost, I should always say. The other one's at the back down there. I don't have to prove it to you there as well. But the reason I'm jumping back in again is with James and stuff like that. The breaking down of that will exasperate it and will kind of lean into what government want. Is more authority to exercise power on the streets. The defence forces will be brought out because people will be getting animated. People will be caught short, and people will be found out with the lack of energy, can't turn heating on. And again, when the fuel prices go up because the shelves, it's already happening in Australia. I can see talking to family over there as well. Shelves are starting to empty out because they're closer to the immediate source, and their projections for energy purchase would have been a lot shorter because they would have been closer to the immediate source, and are now feeding it because their stocks aren't being brought up to date. If they do have a reservoir, I must ask Grok here. Maybe chat as well. I don't think we don't have a strategic fuel reserve here in Ireland. I'm pretty sure. Let me ask Grok. And we're going to tune in with Grok as well. I'll get to it. How are we doing for time? Half an hour. Grok, does Ireland hold a strategic oil reserve, or what is the capacity for Ireland to hold on to oil to run the economy?
Checking Ireland's oil reserves right now. Yeah, Ireland does hold a strategic oil reserve. It's managed by the National Oil Reserves Agency, NORA, and lines up with IEA rules. Right now, as of March 2026, they keep about 90 days worth of supply on hand.
90 days.
Based on net
Oh, shit. Carry on. Repeat that, Grok.
Yeah, 90 days. Right around 1.6 million barrels total. Enough to keep lights on, trucks moving, and planes flying if supplies got cut off tomorrow. NORA's got it locked down, mostly abroad in places like Rotterdam or Scotland. Solid buffer. Not endless, but it buys time.
So there you have it. I mean, like 90 days in total. So whatever direction or whatever that last delivery comes in, the reserve is for 90 days plus. So coming up, like I said, towards the Christmas, we'll get through. We'll see. I imagine, this is just me. Playing it through in my mind, but the lockdowns come into place. Checkpoints all being put out in place as well. Gardaí present on every forecourt, and probably tankers being escorted to the forecourts. All of it to play out. I hope I'm completely wrong. I knew for 90 days, but that's feck all really. 100% sheepdog. It's not enough for 360 days. It's 90 days. It's probably about enough for a quarter of the energy needs for the year. And that's going to get worse as well, as I said, because of the mealy mouth drop in fuel prices. Now, they should not have been dropped at all. Got to match global energy prices. People need to be able to adjust to the new reality. This is a false premise. This is leading people up the garden path to cheaper fuel, and only, as I say, encourages hoarding, and that's already going to happen, and it's going to drive down the reserves even quicker. So just look for the signs, look for all the bits and pieces. As we said, will it be time to go back to burning turf? Again, that's the whole reason why they've tried to. The removal of chimneys for stuffing in the new plantation. As I said, thank the Greens, but the Greens fall in line with the SDGs. I think we'll fall back to James's post there towards the end. As I said, it's a bit long. Let's check in with Ireland and what's happening in Dublin city centre at the moment. As the new to the parish are making their demands felt. You let me know what your thoughts of this, but people now demanding on the street for whatever there's their Irishness. Peace for the Congolese now protesting as well. But this daily circus is now becoming more and more of a scene here in Ireland. Have a listen to that. Marching down the very illustrious Irish Revolutionary High Street where the 1916 revolution took place. Now, my sympathies go towards these people as well, because all of these people, like putting this in, the ants that are in the jar, along with the rest of us, we're in the jar, as I keep saying to you, but these people are going to be smacked out as well, because they've no toys. When this energy crisis kicks in, they're not going to be protected in any way, shape, or form. They're going to force to feel the effects. International markets will dry up, because all means of production will be will be perversely affected by the fuel shortage. Everything is affected by energy. We've always understood that and known that. Nothing stops or carries on forward. And again, that's just a little bit of dark humour over there as well. But again, the distraction of it, the immigration, the purposeful flooding and the increase of the population to understand. that this narrative change or this narrative grab was always in the cards, We'll touch over now to a little bit of the PPNs, which is the People's Parliamentary. I think it's, but anyway, it's Fianna Fact. Let me jump into this as well. Remember, I was saying about the PPN, the constitutional. What was that? I think some of the comments were bringing it up there. The constitutional pact or whatever. But I'll read through it. It comes up here in the statement. This is from our good friend Fianna Fact as well. Now I'm switching over away from the energy crisis. We'll jump back into it as well. And it is an energy crisis, and it is coming to us. I'm kind of leading on with that just to make you aware for preparations. Prepare to fail to prepare, prepare to fail. As I've said to you. So Fianna Fact jumping back in with some useful information in regards to how this architecture was put place and how the people's representative was bypassed over a period of time. Please burn this into your heads. This is from Fianna Fact. Please burn this into your heads, as I think it's the most important piece of local civic knowledge to understand in Ireland. The Irish PPN system is presented as local representation, but it is structurally weighted so that 66% of the formal architecture and of representation on local boards runs through two pillars that contain only around 20% of far-left aligned groups. These pillars are largely centred on migrants, LGBT issues, social advocacy and environmental causes. Everything that perversely affects the Irish Indigenous population but benefits all of these precious categories. The community pillar, which contains roughly 80% of groups, is left with the remaining 33%. None of this is based on law. It is based on ministerial guidelines. These ministers have turned the public service in a direction and are steering it, not by legislative, but by ministerial guidelines. And they've all poured into it and followed along because it is another access to the gravy train and stuff like that. But these public participation networks, that's what I was looking for there earlier on, in Ireland are structured around three core pillars representing the community and voluntary sector to influence local government policy. And as I've always said to you, it's the government talking to the government, telling the government what to do, what the government wants to enact, but giving the facade of representation. These pillars ensure diverse representation and enable registered groups to feed into local decision-making bodies. The three PPN numbers: community and voluntary, social inclusion, environmental, key aspects. But in the representation, just to highlight from the source, that representatives are elected from these pillars to sit on council boards and committee, Public Participation Networks Limited. Highlighted that there for a fact. And then the composition of the PPN numbers. Again, it's the NGO class that facilitate the majority of it. And then they say to us that the rest of it is for population. But that population, that representative on those boards only equates to 33%, thereby leading the NGOs to have the bulk of the representation for their social justice tenets that they want to bring forward that fall in line with the SDG. And the government going, oh, of course we want to help. Of course we want to help. But then making sense followed in as well. Another great account as well, just to highlight how the soft coup that was perpetrated by Fine Gael in 2011. I mean, stemming back from as far as 1970, with the primary architect of Peter Sutherland and his now apprentice, young Simon Coveney, who's going to take over the mantles and who has facilitated in his part during the pandemic to bring in this architecture. The Reform Act of 2014 was a component part. It's critical to appreciate too, because the power shift saw a dilution of representative democracy, which we're supposed to be here in the Republic. And in its replacement is what we have today, stakeholder state. Sound familiar, everybody? Stakeholder capitalism, World Economic Forum. You will own nothing and be happy. In which power is distributed between government, media, corporation, banks, NGOs, then civil society and supranational institutions, and largely to the exclusion of the participation by the people. We did notice the shift because the system retained a familiar edifice: national elections, Dáil Éireann, policy manifestos, a public service broadcasting, the propaganda wing of it all. The reform agenda itself was a two-pronged structural changes in governance and the top-down imposition of hyper-liberal social transformation. Both spanned the entire decade between the Troika and COVID, and along with bringing about real changes to how the state worked at a functional level. I mean, the real perma government is the highly paid civil servants. They're the real power. And I get to this towards the end. I am going to go through this. the government's continued pursuit of pre-crash financial policies after a similar pro-financialisation of international capital agenda led to the catastrophic crash of the economy. In fact, such was the success and of this distraction that Enda Kenny, remember him, the best little country in the world to do business in, sold us down the line, grew a beard to high so that he could try and walk amongst us, grew himself a big beard, but has gone to a vulture fund and is earning up to 400 grand a year because he gave them the inside line, along with the rest of them feckless fuckers, Ahern and the et al., you named them all that have been, all those, excuse me, I'm getting angry. Citizens, in fact, such was the success of this distraction that Enda Kenny could sell us the constitutional conventions. That's where I was trying to get to. Citizens' assemblies and same-sex marriage at the front door. The placade, the moral authority, the emotional hook to draw you in so that you wouldn't read the fine print. You just see the headline banners of social inclusion and same-sex marriage, all the stuff that the useful communist dopes that feel excluded from the housing market now, or the students that can't get accommodation, this is what you voted for. Or say lack of voted for, you didn't get the chance to vote for, this is what you encouraged and brought in through your drongo rhetoric and your fucking stupid understanding of how fucking supply and demand works. Citizen assemblies and same-sex marriage at the front door, whilst Michael Noonan was at the back door smuggling in our old friends, the bondholders, whom we recently bailed out in the form of vulture funds. Forward 14 or 15 years later, and we can see the real impact of that policy. The reforms agenda in that decade, if anything, put the country into an even faster track towards technocracy. We can see all the cameras coming up and around city centres all porting out. We'll get to the stage of China where there will be 3 cameras per person. It's happening. You can see the toll, the new digital toll that's rolling out on every entry and exit on the M50 and the motorways here. And that will be used to clamp down, because part of that rationing fuel out, part of that rationing rollout will be the licence holders can only drive on the road even and odd numbers of driver's licenses. How do you equate that first half of the year to second half of the year every second day? I can see the working week being reduced to a 4-day week. Oh, that's great. I did say that last week, but that's a reduction in your earnings. That's a reduction in your capability to meet your bills. Continuing on, if anything, to put the country into an even faster track towards technocracy and led to the rise of managerialism, the migration of sovereignty, authority abroad, and the embedding of consultative networks like the PPN at local level, all designed, pushed in and inserted to remove the people's representative process and to institute this stakeholder state that we've been fed along with. As I said, mass behind these. Here, have an election. Pick one or two of these candidates, see if anything changes. The net result of all of this is a situation where politicians act today as though they are not in the service of the people, frankly because they're not. Instead, they serve stakeholders. Senior public servants today act as a transmission belt between the stakeholders in Brussels, the NGO sector, and the UN or the WHO, who issue on issues like hate speech, climate change, migration, and the Digital Service Act. Now, they've had a knockback. We'll get back to that once diverge too much. But as a result, ministers are in a reality functionally subordinate to senior public servants. These days, a good minister is one who simply does what she is told to do by the Departmental Secretary General. Ministers who take this approach are ideal cabinet hires because they can easily be moved around between departments. Hence, we've seen the former Justice Minister now as the Education Minister, and the musical chairs continues. All those nepotistic plants, all those hereditary seats from father to daughter, from mother to son, from son and et al. They remained in power. The incumbents, the power elite, who will all be fucking brought back down to base by this energy crisis as well. Because even if the ministers are protected, I won't go too far. Be careful. Be careful what you say. But the making sense also put in the infographic towards the end. But again, I lead you towards that language there. Let me see if I can reduce that down and fit it into the screen there for you so you can see it all. But the SDG goals, the 17 sustainable goals, as touted by the Green Party, the Communist Green Party. I'll give you some of the headlines, some of their goals that they wish to achieve. Oh, let me pop that up there. I didn't even pop it over. But the SDGs, like some of the goals here. Number 1, no poverty. Well, there won't be no poverty. Will be complete poverty. Everybody will be in poverty. 0 hunger, because everybody will be hungry. We won't know what not being hungry is like because we're all fucking hungry. Good health and well-being is a goal. But this mass democide that they just recently portrayed, while importing a complete replacement population of unvaccinated vaccinated workers at a cheaper price. Convenient, isn't it? Convenient. Quality education. Well, when you brought in the third world with no formal education and you have to start back from the fucking basics, how is that going to be quality education at the deprivation to the Indigenous Irish who didn't ask for any of this, who didn't vote for any of this, who weren't included in the conversation? But we'll be bound sure be here to pick up the pieces, as we all will, as we see this going forward. Another, gender equality. More nebulous fucking fluff led to distract. Clean water and sanitation. When you consider the data centers and all the offset that they spew into the local rivers, all the chemical plants at all dumping into the city. Kindly known, because we've had numerous dumps that have been reported and caught over from different rivers in amongst the countryside, where these bigger pharmaceuticals are embedded. Decent work and economic growth. Well, you can kiss that goodbye, because when there's no energy for business to turn the lights on and produce anything, that's going to be heading downwards. Industrial innovation and infrastructure, that's the new technocracy, as I say, with the facial recognition coming in and chat controls from the digital online digital act. Reduced inequalities, more nebulous fluff. Sustainable cities and communities, that's going to be your 15-minute cities. That's how that's going to be brought in. Responsible consumption and production. Consumption of what? There's nothing to consume. Climate action. The Greens' lovely agenda. Well, we're going to have to reduce fuel. We're going to have to put more water in the diesel. They're already doing that. Watch how quick your fuel tank runs down and how quick you go through diesel as it's watered down to try and make it last longer. But you'll use it up quicker. Life below water, life on land, peace, justice and strong institutions, and partnership for the goals. All bullshit buzzwords to try and just encapsulate you in fucking jargon of soup salad and word fucking muck. Sorry, Chad, I'm breaking away here on my own. Let me bring you over here so I can see you. Yeah, you remember Noonan? Who was that bringing up Noonan? Noonan had, when he left, the biggest gold portfolio, along with all his other portfolios, because they knew they had the inside line to emerging what the markets were going to predict. Not saying that they could predict what the war was. Further up the field, you probably knew that was coming down the line, or some way, because of the seven countries that were on the American hit list after the Gulf War, but he thought they were just going to after that. But Iran was included, and has always been Big BB's grand global plan to bring about not only the Antichrist but greater Israel, which is what they've done. I see the Temple of St. Paul was destroyed today by Israeli missiles as well, thereby exasperating relationships between all the different philosophies and theologies. Things are going to get worse on that front. Yeah, but Noonan's gold portfolio, he made, like Enda Kenny, made a huge fucking money for themselves. So again, don't allow them to walk the streets. That's all I'm saying. If you see them, shame them. Because their level of wealth will give them some protection for a period of time anyway. Another one here by Employment of Ireland as well is in relation to why Irish homelessness are left on the streets and why international protection officers are afforded the protection, while our own 17,000 now at last projections, including up to 6,000 children sleeping in the pissings around and the rain for the last 3 or 4 months. That could easily be taken off the streets if the government moved for as quick as they did in City West there by creating a whole new fucking village right on where the old golf course is, in big high-rise flats where they're going to pump them all in. But when the lights are off and they're all living alone, chaos is going to ensue. But Employment Ireland, just again, like I say, just to bring these to your attention as to why things are the way they are. Irish law gives homelessness Irish citizens no justifiable or enforceable right to accommodation. A council may, quote, is the word, may help you or may not if no bed exists. Discretionary. But an international protection applicant shall, quote, shall, under legislation, be provided with accommodation and support. They can sue if they didn't get it. Irish citizens cannot. That is the law. It is important people are aware of the laws written by the government. So again, it puts us all at a disadvantaged position. But again, all that architecture was brought into place previously. And just no fight back or push back it. I see Gavin, I see Malachy, all the and Paul Quillen as well, all bringing all these inside information to us, because we have 3 voices in there, regardless of what you think of them. They're speaking the opposite to any of the drongos, if they're allowed speaking time. But more and more people will see the valuable service that they're bringing in by highlighting the disparity or the imbalance between representation, because it's just a facade. So I would encourage those boys who are inside the trip were to make a bigger noise and to make a bigger happening, to make a bigger scene as we go forward. And last but not least, just some of the five, not last but not least, but you might have seen this during the week, that there was a victorious changing of the plans. Now, it's begun in earnest. You might have lost it behind the facade, but there was a vote on the deportations of the new to the parish. And again, from outside in forces beyond our control, the right and the centre right and the centre in the European Parliament. I'm not saying that whole facade is still a good thing, but it's a possibility of what could be. Voted some 396 to some 290 odd in favour of instituting new deportation policies and allowing it easier for illegals to be deported. That's all that architecture is now going to be brought forward and put into place and made legislative. It's up to us. It's up to us now to force them to start bringing in these hubs. These determined camps are outside the EU. These people can be automatically redirected and flighted, if the fuel is still available, obviously, fly them out of the country. These amnesties will have to stop because there's not enough food to feed everybody. Someone's going to have to leave back to their own country. That's all ahead of us. But you can be guaranteed, as was happened, that all 15 of our Irish MEPs voted against it, voted against the will of the Irish people, who clearly did not ask for this or do not want this migration, this diversity is our strength nonsense. It was always easy when it's held that the minority and individuals and smaller cultures could be facilitated along the main culture. But this is a complete usurpation of the main culture, the majority homogenous culture, to include this mocha-coloured fucking Eurostat chaos that they want to serve. People that will just install a button. But I want to give you some of the top 5 caricatures. And I have been at Barry Andrews is a wet wipe, but the effeminate school teacher, Billy Kelleher, and now they are looking for people that are slamming or besmirching them online so that they can incumbent this Digital Service Act. So I'm being very, in my thinking, in my what shall I say, not skepticism, my criticism of these people. But I along with many others, I've been attacking him because he is frontline centre pro-Europe, along with Andrews as well, whose wife is making millions off the pharmaceutical company, who all of them have tie-in. Maria Walsh over there as well, the transgender candidate who hasn't got 2 fucking brain cells between her, but she knows that if she's pushed in the right direction, she knows the words to say. But all of these 5 drongos voted against your best interests to reduce the demand on the island of Ireland for the excessive amount of population growth that's coming, that is clearly unsustainable and now is going to be completely detrimental to us all, because we're not equipped to set it up even now when we thought we were going to get freer energy. It's more of this chaos is going to unfurl. Remember them, as I say, along with all the under 178 who voted in for the emergency legislation powers, which are still in effect from 2019, from the COVID lockdowns, already in place to be brought back in and reconstituted under a different name. Brace yourself, Maureen. I said brace yourself. I don't think any one emergency act has been withdrawn, if I'm correct. I could ask Grok, but it interferes too much. I'll lead you up. Not that I want to finish off there, but I want to get to that little Grok finder that we can use as well, that can help to expose the corruption. And I'll give you a couple of the pointers. This now is the part of the conspiratorial part of the show as we come towards the end of today's broadcast, this week's broadcast, trying to push a lot into as well. And this is a fairly long one, but this is in relation to the excess debt, and this is peer reviewed. This is what's coming out and being more available. Those of you that have taken it, those of you who understand, those of you that are capable to understand and appreciate that this is to help protect you. This information is to help to protect you, to curtail any of the effects that come out as they go forward. I'll stop off and have a listen to this fella here. This is Dr. Jack Kruse. And again, you take them with a pinch of salt. Take everything that's being said here with a pinch of salt, but it does line in theoretically to what we were talking about for many years and what is being said from Colombia. What's that? What was that Portuguese research team? Christopher Columbus. One of the Spanish things that were pumping out about that broke the information on nanotechnology and stuff like that. I know Chat will bring it up to as well, along with a host of other international doctors that came forward and spoke about these things here. Have a listen to this one here. I'll see if I can bring it up for you, lickety split. I'll just let this first part go away because it's a bit nonsensical. Have a listen while I cover for the pause.
Primate from human, and that was the focus of Jeffrey Epstein and Jeffrey Epstein's bosses. And you know that that we have definitive proof now that he was being paid by the Rothschilds. We also have definitive proof that he was tied to the Rockefeller empire, and this is kind of what I've shared with my people. Most people don't know that.
I think I can pause it through as well. Again, if you've gone through the Epstein list and all of that, and I know that's all big there, but it all kind of ties in. That the very same people that pushed, you must become aware now if you're just passing through, that the very same people that pushed the product on you were the very same people. And now did you come to find out that it's causing VAs, that cardiac arrests, a host, turbo cancers are all fucking skyrocketing in demographics and age groups that never had these kind of rises before. But the very same people that pushed you are the very same people that are involved in the X-Files, as we'll call them over there as well, were part of the design of the whole thing. So trust the science, guys. Trust the science. But whose science?
Jeffrey Epstein came to fame when he was made a member of the Trilateral Commission and the Council of Foreign Relations by David Rockefeller in 1983. He was only 30 years old and had no history. What was his job? His original job was to continue on the project that the Rockefellers had started with DARPA. And that was getting involved in the MK Ultra program, where they found out that blue light, specifically polarized blue light, could be used to change the D and L amino acids, and that would lead to control. That's what the government found out in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and that project went on. That's the reason why every screen is blue lit and blue lit controlled, because what they effectively can do is they can control your dopamine level.
I found this fascinating as well. We've all been aware of the blue light off the screens and stuff like that. I had to get the blue tint glasses as well. But they're also out on the streets, all out on the streets. All those different light bulbs have been changed over to the LEDs. This two priority. And again, it's that light source that's coming in. I'm surrounded by it here as well. I'm aware of it, but I keep it to a minimum. I only keep it for the broadcast as well. But that's such a powerful thing, that light going into it has effect on the mitochondrial, and your body absorbs that information from that light source. And the blue is to affect your sleep pattern and your melatonin production. Again, the color of your skin, the melatonin product. But I'll allow him to continue.
What the Rockefellers were very interested in was melanin. And melanin turns out to be on chromosome number 2, which is the POMC gene. Epstein was taken out in 19 because he was now considered a useless idiot. It's because now Peter Thiel, Karp, and
that music was on at the start. I'm glad it's dropped off there now because it was very annoying, but thanks for pushing on through.
Palantir have replaced him. So what is the battle royale going on now? We're not going to use blackmail anymore. We're going to use surveillance technology to do the same thing. But remember, is the goal the same of control? The answer is absolutely. And once you understand that the game is control, you begin to understand that everything that you went through, like, for example, you said you're vaccine injured.
Yeah.
Easier to control somebody who's injured and tied to the pharmaceutical industry for the rest of their life. The answer is yes. So that's effectively what they're interested in. And when you understand that fundamentally, their goal is, as you aptly put it, to go back to feudalism and medievalism. Why? Because back then the population was small. It was easy to control. They were able to do it back then with, centralized monarchies. Right now, the goal, probably in the next 50 years, that's the goal of Agenda 2030, is to shrink the population by any means necessary. And hopefully the public helps them, which they are, through their compliance. Yeah. And then eventually they'll have maybe a population on Earth between 500 million and 1 billion people. And it's much easier to control a fiefdom that way than not. Now, of course, when you lay this story out for your audience and a guy like you, and you hear this, you go, this is absolutely, dastardly.
Yep. You said it there, Jim. You said it. Unbelievable. Was that on? Did I put that in place? Did I allow you to? Oh, God, don't really know. But you absorbed the information. You took it. You know where we're going. What I'm saying. I think that was the last one. Oh no, where is that? Let me see. I'll bring this one up here as well. Which was the grok, the little grok thing that we do. I think I skipped over it there, and then I've just deleted it. Oh, stop pressing buttons. I'll dig it out here now as I'm talking to you. Let me just jump back into my saved messages. Wasn't that one? Wasn't that one. Wasn't that one. I have it here. Bear with. Do bear with. I saved it towards the end. It's a cracker. You need to have it. You need to have it. Stop teasing us, JT. Just bring it out. I'll just go through the whole lot of them till I get it. It's not that one that I just looked at there. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Found it. I found it, boys and girls. Just in the nick of time before I was about to give up on it. Let me bring this one over to here. But if you want to have, or you want to exercise a little bit of self-authority and you want to do something useful for yourself, you can now, as Fianna Fact, our good friend, whoever they may be, has just had this little tweet that I thought I'll just finish off with this and let you do this. I'm impressed. Gawk can now search through government e-tenders, lobbying records and non-profit finances. You all know what to do. You are all investigative journalists now. You can posit questions to Grok to go through the e-tenders lists and see who's. I'll let the comments speak for themselves. Fianna Fail is more apt. Grok, can you give me a list of the most recent lobbying returns in relation to immigration and or the EU Migration Pact from lobbying.ie? Who was lobbied and what person did they lobbying? Grok, give me a breakdown of the funding for the Irish Refugee Council from the Charity Regulator website. Grok, can you list the lobbying, funding and director and board members of the Irish Council of Civil Liberties using lobbying.ie and the Charity Regular website? There was a few others. I think it was Enzo. But in the keywords, yes, I can help search through the Irish Section 5 planning lists and declarations. The keywords that Erin Henzo here towards the end, because Fianna Fact was proffering out a few suggestions for you to input. But all you diligent journalists have at it. But Erin Henzo said there are other keywords like international protections. Can you search through Irish Government Section 5 planning lists? Thoughts? Yes, I can help search through Irish Section 5 planning list declarations. It gives a list of different people and persons that were looking for developments, and which is exempt development. Can you show the current Section 5 planning exemptions listings for Donegal? Very interesting. Donegal getting swamped with new to the parish. Meanwhile, the prior right situations as people's homes were falling down about them and weren't getting any government assistance. Pretty much like now where we are now, tearing down family homes because they weren't they didn't meet the planning laws at the same situation, where none of these new international protection teams meet or have to fall in line with any planning protections. We had the case of the man down in Tipperary, can't think of the chap's name, who had to dismantle his mobile home on his own land because he didn't have local counselling collection, to now by having local councils now proffering and suggesting that you should allow people, pretty much after they took down his fucking property, pretty much after they destroyed a family home and took it down. The fucking shame of all, the nonsense, the illogic of it all. The memories that were destroyed in that house, you know, that it could have been reproffered or reconstituted for something else. But to pull it down, absolute vitriol. Just to finish off that point there as well, in the international protection, Section 5 refers to Section 5 of the Planning and Development Act 2000 as amended. It allows anyone to apply for the local planning authority, one of Ireland's 31 city councils, as a formal written declaration on whether a specific development is exempt development. Does not require full planning permission or not. Councils must publish declarations they issue, usually as PDFs or lists on websites, for at least 8 weeks and maintain searchable registers online and planning portals. I think there was another one there in the international protection, but you get the drift, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't have it up on screen for you to read through. Okay, boys and girls, thank you very much for your company. Just wanted to get through that. We've just crept over the 1 hour time. I want to say thank you for jumping in. But all of those things before we wind up and round it down are just to make you more aware. I think it's better to be informed and aware than to be uninformed and not be able to make any whatever necessary preparations. Hardy bastards, we've kind of surmised and come to the pretty much, I hope, the same conclusion that this was always inevitable. We knew we were coming out, and here we actually are, 2027 to 2030, the next 3 years, till they come up with their Hegelian and their solution, which will be the digital IDs and stuff like that. So I think what the farmers could most benefit now is, rather than shutting down the motorways, and I'm not discouraging them or I'm not pointing to import it, but start setting up food markets, start understanding and getting to know the farmers, because we're going to have to go back to old crop rotation. We're going to have to go back to old farming methods to try and bring it back up, because they're going to say, well, look, we've no other choice but to import this cheap beef from Brazil that the local population down in Brazil won't even touch. They have their own cows because they know how ill-treated and how doped up on steroids and antibiotics and all sorts of injections that these cows are, who are kept in mass. I've seen some pictures of them, 100 or 200 cows in a fucking huge cage on wheels, and they're just moving into different parts of the crop to feed, and they no room to move around, just stood inside a cage for a day, and then it's moved off like you do with the chickens. It's fucking inhumane, and that's why I understand the farmers' anger and stuff like that, because they care for their animals. We've been through over-regulation. We've had the highest quality beef that has been implemented and tried to be copied throughout the world, only for now for tainted meat to make its way through on purpose, and now for the whole scheme to be marked redundant because of a need now to import highly questionable meat, highly questionable food sources. I think it was Siobhan that was mentioning something out there, but I missed it on there. Siobhan, heading off, be informed with prayer, 100%. And I'll finish off on this, just a personal touch as well. I did say in a couple of streams, a couple of broadcasts there back ago, that I was lambasting the church, and I am aware there are many priests out there. One of the chat there was talking about the I can't remember the father's name, he was doing exorcism and stuff like that over here. But there's a Catholic priest on YouTube who's doing his thing, who's making a spoke out, and I've always been very critical of the church, and I've been very critical of priests and bishops at all. None of them speaking out when they had a chance. So now here we are again to another precipice, and the would-be leaders of our church, of the flock, will come forward and speak logos to the parish. And on a personal note, I'll say that I do think that I was, not that I was offhand with the church. If this is anyway a form of an apology, it don't is, because I apologise for fucking nothing, and I never have will, only to those I love and care for deeply. Father Pat Collins, thanks for that, Siobhan. But I do think it's important to the church, and given upon this, the Holy Week, as we head in towards Good Friday, and all that it entails as well. I think I will be, and Ash Wednesday as well. Don't forget Ash Wednesday. Have I missed that Ash Wednesday? But anyway, Good Friday coming up on this, the Holy Week. That church is important as well, because I'm always questioning my own position and my own epistemology and my own understanding. I never sit still on it. Even when I think I've affirmed it, I start questioning it straight away to see if there's any newer or more relevant information. But there was 300 years of faith and gatherings of the early Christians before the Bible was brought about or brought into commonplace, but that people always understood to go to church or go to affirm their faith towards Jesus Christ and our Lord and Saviour. I read a very fascinating, or seen another video montage again of a historical account of one of the emperors who was persecuting Christians and killing them off and telling them to defy their God, and was speaking about that they affirmed and confirmed to themselves too that part of their faith would be to not commit murder, not commit adultery, the three tenets, that they would meet on a weekly and profess their faith to each other or tell different stories till it was canonized, till the Bible started to come into place. So the church has always been in its place. I always still maintain the church is within you, and your saving grace is to look within the church within inside you as well, but part of tradition. And if I'm going to be an nationalist and to include it, to be on the right, tradition is key. Tradition is paramount, and the church tradition ties in with our own nationalistic endeavours. So a return to Christ must entail a return to the church. You pick and choose your flavour of priest till you find one, but I think the act of going and sharing and breaking bread and shaking the hand of peace to the person beside you is a worthwhile endeavour. So I will be returning in due time to the Christ. That's for me. I think we're all going to need a little bit of a reformation. Sheepdog says, agree, GT, the church have a lot to answer for, but we the people are the church in essence. Never be afraid to stand one's grounds. Christians, we are going to be persecuted. It's happening out all around the world. Last but a question, will be increased while we still have the energy? Is there a need for another show in the week? You let me know. Leave your thoughts, comments and witticisms in the comment section as well if you want to try and carry up this to I was thinking Friday night if we were going to go up to a second night stream. As I said, while the lights are still on, while we still have the availability to try and keep the information out and to give ourselves a place to come and commune and break bread. Okay, folks? Is that okay with you? Like I said, please leave your thoughts, comments and witticisms. If you're new to the channel, if you find this of any of interest, please maybe offer us a subscription and a like. And if you thought of any of information, cut it. Stick it out on your own platforms, whatever you think yourself. None of this is copyrighted. I don't give a monkeys. Just get the info out there. I'll try and fire off on the I'll try and fire off on the outgoing title and see if I can make it work properly this time. I think I have everything on mute. But last but not least, big thank you to Live Chat for coming in and engaging and talking with us. Very delighted to have your presence. Twice weekly is good from Siobhan. Blinky. We won't do the roll call and that anymore if you don't want to. You could just sign off there. And I see all your goodbyes. Thank you very much to you as well, Fanula. Thank you to Tara, SDG, the newly promoted Gone Hunter, who got his spanner. Thanks to you, Fiona. Liz Pepper also in the house. Told you Sheepdog would make an appearance later on in the show. Green effort, HB Wallbanger, to name but a few. Billy Bogus, and who else have I got there? Who else have I not mentioned? Quite a and Green Fest. Okay, I'll leave it there. Okay, folks, I'm signing off. See you again next Monday. Leave your thoughts, comments, and wisdom. See what you think. Let me know your suggestions, and if not, I will see you on the flip side. Be good to everybody. Us. I'm still here. Watch out, wave over the wave chat. Beauty, 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 beauty.